Welcome to the T-Pac Arcade. Today's game is Rockman 4 for the Nintendo Famicom. In this 1991 action platformer from Capcom, Dr. Light sends Rockman to stop the evil robot masters of Dr. Cossack, only to find the Russian scientist was blackmailed by Dr. Wily, who kidnapped his daughter. If I've learned anything from the Rockman series thus far, it's that if you ever think the bad guy might not be Dr. Wily, it's still Dr. Wily. So in proper Rockman fashion, this is a game where you blast your way through various platform stages and one-on-one boss fights. You can jump, you can slide, you can shoot, and unlike previous entries in the series, you can even charge your cannon for a more powerful blast. Rockman's trusty robot dog Rush also returns to spring you up onto high ledges, rocket you through the air, and propel you underwater. There's even a new special wire ability that's basically a grappling hook. I think I only used it once in the whole game, but more power-ups are never a bad thing, so I can't complain. Speaking of which, Rockman 4 maintains the obligatory mechanic of acquiring each defeated Robot Master's weapon, and since specific Robot Masters are weak to each other's powers, it's best to tackle the first 8 selectable stages in a specific order, so you have the right attack for each battle. Of course, I always neglect to look up that optimal order before starting these games, so I mostly just fumbled awkwardly and inefficiently through the levels at random. Which is a fair description of how I always handle Rockman games. See, on paper, the Rockman, or Mega Man franchise should be perfect for me. Neat robots, varied platforming, unique power-ups, but in execution, these games just frustrate me to no end, and I think Rockman 4 has solidified the reason why. The stages themselves are a ton of fun, but the boss fights are just so annoying they ruin my enjoyment, and I realize this is a me problem, but allow me to elaborate anyway, level by level. In Pharaoh Man stage, you get to ride circus conveyor belt things and face mummies who sling their heads at you by unraveling their bandages, which is awesome. But then, you have to fight Pharaoh Man, who hops directly into you, throwing energy yo-yo things, and the only fun factor is timing your jumps when he does charge shots, which is annoying. In Bright Man stage, you get to turn the lights on and off by detonating firework enemies, ride jumping grasshoppers while blasting evil totem poles, and swing on rocking roller coasters, which is awesome. But then, you have to fight Bright Man, who freezes you in place so he can beam you with light bulb blasts, which is annoying. In Drill Man stage, you get to shoot big, stompy, spiky compactor dudes and flip switches to make the terrain appear, which is awesome, especially if you have Bright Man's time freeze power to stop the boulders from falling on your noggin. But then you have to fight Drill Man, who rushes you with screw attacks, and the only fun factor is dodging him whenever he surfaces after digging underground, which is, you guessed it, annoying. In Dive Man stage, you get to dodge man-eating robo-fish and blast huge torpedo whales, which is awesome. But then, you have to fight Dive Man, who... Okay, I'll admit this is a fun boss battle, but only because, unlike basically every other Rockman boss ever, he has a set attack pattern, which is launching a torpedo after every 3 spin charges, so I'll give this one a pass. In Toadman stage, you get to ride water currents that drift you along platforms and blast goofy bomb-launching mecha snails, which is awesome. But then, you have to fight Toadman, who is actually easy to beat if you just keep sliding under him, but monotonous because he jumps back and forth over and over and over and over and over again, which is annoying. In Ringman stage, you get to hop along retracting rainbow pathways guarded by silly spinning planet dudes, take out sleepy missile hippos on rising and falling pedestals, and time your jumps across gaps in coil platforms, which is awesome. But then, you have to fight Ringman, who's the most annoying robot master by far. He just constantly rushes you, throwing ring boomerangs to hit you on the way out, and again on the way back, which is annoying. Wait, scratch that, which is infuriating. In Dustman stage, you get to bounce across self-assembling platforms under helicopter ladybug bots, and clear a path through blocks under trash compactors, which is awesome, until you have to fight Dustman, who throws exploding garbage at you. And if you're anything like me, it's a cruel reminder of how garbage I am at Rockman games, which is annoying and discouraging. Finally, in Skullman stage, you get to dodge sentient riot shields that can only be damaged from behind, and blast skeleton bots that fall apart and reassemble again, which is awesome. But then you have to fight Skullman, who has a bone shield to keep you from damaging it, and you end up just sitting there until it deactivates, wondering if playing this game is even worth it at this point. Okay, I've been a bit harsh here, but there's a silver lining, the Dr. Cossack stages. These are a ton of fun all the way through. You blast Slinkies, the most mesmerizing of pointless toys, you climb through ladder chompers, the most treacherous of ascending hazards, you time your hops across alternating spike blocks, the pointiest of platforms, and you ride floating conveyors, which lower when you land and rise when you jump. It's great, and to break the trend, so are the boss battles here. There's a cool robo-moth who jackhammers holes into the floor, a combining enclosure with a weak point flanked by platforms on the inside, and a pair of wall walkers who are perfect fodder for Dive Man's homing torpedo power. Even Dr. Cossack himself is a fun battle, because it's basically a reverse crane game where you're the toy trying not to get clawed. But then, whoa. Then the Dr. Wily section rears its ugly head. The only fun here is the disappearing blocks, and then everything goes downhill with the bosses again. The giant helmet guy shields himself for 75% of the battle until he decides to rain little helmet guys on your noggin, or just straight up stomp on you, an attack that I never successfully avoided even one single time. Then the big angry turret guy alternates blowing fireballs at you and lobbing bombs on you, all while you try to desperately stay on the platforms to reach his forehead weak spot. And of course, we have the infamous Rockman boss rush, where you have to defeat all the original 8 Robot Masters a second time, which is traumatizing enough that I don't even want to revisit that gameplay footage. And finally, there's Dr. Wily himself, who I couldn't even figure out how to damage without looking up strategy guides on the internet. And I absolutely hate doing that for games like this. Surprisingly, his Skull Machine mode can be defeated with just standard charge blasts, as long as you shoot from the highest point of your jump and then retreat quickly back under him to dodge the fireballs. But in a frustrating twist, Wily's final UFO mode that targets you with energy blasts and only appears for a split second whenever they fire, can only be beaten with 1 or 2 specific weapons. The internet recommended charging the Pharaoh shot and trying to get the invisible Wily to collide with it, which admittedly was pretty fun, but a really mean and convoluted strategy to require for beating the game. Which I ultimately did, but not without cheating. Even beyond looking up the Dr. Wily strategies, I used save states to bookmark every boss battle because I knew I needed all the help I could get to finish them. Alright, enough complaining. Rockman has always had one specific exemplary redeeming factor, no matter how mean the gameplay is, and that's the audio visuals. Very few early Nintendo games can come anywhere close to rivaling the stage designs, sprite graphics, and chiptunes in Rockman. And this 4th game in the series especially struck me with how well animated the cutscenes are. Just look at Mega Man rotating around in the new ability sequence. How in the world did they do that so smooth with 8-bit pixel art? Ridiculous. Overall, Rockman 4 continues to solidify my love-hate relationship with this series. I wouldn't want to change it, out of respect for all the more competent gamers out there who love it just as it is, but I'll personally have to settle for enjoying the platforming and cursing the boss battles until my dying breath, which in this case will most likely be at the hands of that scumbag Dr. Wily.